Chinese social score from the government. Each individual, each civilian has a social score and credit score. And then if your score is too low, then you won't have access to certain products and services that is provided by the government. Now, these social score systems, they operate based off a monitoring surveillance systems that does facial recognitions in public locations. Also, each civilian has a social score as well as a number, and when they apply for certain services and products, they can be declined depending on the services they request. That sounds very, very similar to the same system here in the US. Same thing. Every time you go to a Walmart, Target, or any store anywhere in America where it's Best Buy or furniture services places and store locations, Target, like I said, Walmart, like I say, Walgreens, like I didn't say Walgreens, but like Walgreens, Publix, Trader Joe's, every even Lions. There's a grocery store called Lion, and they're mainly off of North Carolina and South Carolina. These monitoring systems and surveillance cameras that does facial recognitions, they're everywhere. In every store you go to buy services and products. And during Black Friday, there's usually people sitting around or walking around these stores uh, asking people to apply for store credit so that would pay later on. And then they're based on the social score you have, based off your FICO score. And the FICO score, as well as your Credit Karma and your Expedient score, depends on how your social score is in social medias and everything else. You don't believe me, right? You think your credit score is based off your how the well-being of your credit is, right? But that's not true. That is completely not true. Your your social score is based off your FICO score. That is based off your credit. Okay? 90% of every person in America that has a student loan or bought a car or bought a house, they go straight to these database that is related to FICO, Experian, Credit Karma, and multiple score agencies. These scores agencies, they 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 can give you a percentages of how well you are with your insurance, your car insurance. They also see if you have a education, like if you went to college or high school, or if you have a PhD, then your score is higher. If you don't, like let's say if you're a person like me, I went completely opposite of what the system wanted me to be. Like I dropped out of high school and just did a trade because I knew that the entire federal student loan was a scam at that time. During my time, I knew that the education system was completely it was a system to keep everybody in debt so that the elites can always control and manipulate who is going to be the next big you know guy on the top of the food chain when it comes to the corporate and financial world. They wanted 90% of America in debt, and they made a system based off that no matter how long or how many how long it takes for you to pay your student loan, you're never going to have enough savings or retire to pass on to the next generation. They're socially engineering your social score based off the next generation so that they can analyze and pinpoint to see who is the best and who is the biggest zombie out there that who is willing to just keep being a slave for the rest of their life. So they want to create the delay between uh, this generation, the next generation, and they want to make sure we don't have any savings. They want to make sure that the economy is completely taken off of the US and given to China. And then China is beta testing these control grid systems. And then they're already implementing that same system here in the US so that they can easily manipulate us and control everything. Literally. Control every single aspect of your life when it comes to finance, to insurance, to how you retire, what kind of job you have, who you socialize with, who is responsible for how the things are developed in your life. They basically have a database of all of that, especially with social media, Facebook, Twitter, and places like that. They have an entire control grid system that they do facial recognitions by using your photo, and so they can reverse engineer that photo to see how your structure face is. And then Facebook, shares that data with the NSA and all these places that does analysis of information and data. They can do a facial recognition of any places you go because you already took all sorts of angles of how you take pictures in your Facebook, like a selfie from the side, from other places, and then they can identify and find you on social media and on your friend's photo that they share. So that same system is the same system China has. It's just rebranded into the US, and it becomes a covert surveillance systems that is 100% similar to how China has. Like Google was actually implementing the censorship system that China has with that with that Chinese search engine that they were implementing, and as well as analyzing how they were going to publish the same services that provide search results on Google, but in China. So China is a huge beta test for a control grid system for the elites. And I have been noticing and analyzing that the US and China, they play a huge role together, because if the US isn't starting wars and taking over resources, China is doing what the US is doing, and then keeping the resources to supply the US with products. And then the US goes ahead and add tariffs on top of that to maintain a stable economy. Basically, it's the same thing what the Nazis and the communists did. They were playing the same role during World War II, which was depopulation. They depopulated the whole world. But I saw in the data analyze, and I saw that the Nazis and the Soviet Union, they were playing a huge role together at the beginning and at the end of the war, World War II. And they did a really good, they did a really good job at depopulating the planet, because they killed a whole lot of people, a whole lot of Russian people, and then they killed a lot of people, man. Like, that was one of the most successful depopulation programs that I have ever seen in my entire life, when it comes to studying history and how everything played out, and how the propaganda warfare went ahead and manipulated everything that we know today. So your social score is based off of multiple score agencies. You got Expedian, you got all sorts of credit agencies that gives you a social score based off. It's a very diverse social score, because each of them play a role in your life. That's why there are multiple social score agencies. And the reason why some of the information your score with different agencies are different is because they want to make that difference, because they can always have a reason to say, oh, the reason why your score is not the same as the other agencies because this information was wrong, or that information is wrong. It's literally impossible to get in touch with these people. And I hire multiple lawyers to fight against these credit score agencies for myself, because they were reporting my credit score all scramble. They were like, even my job today is not even reported by multiple credit report agencies. They don't even know how much money I make a year, and I hire like 2 lawyers to go after that to see if they can correct the information. And the banks, these score agencies, they have a policy saying that they can never trust us, but they trust the banks. So you see how that plays out. Like, even if I hire a lawyer, which I did for 6 months, they couldn't get my information right with these social score agencies, which is a FICO score and your credit score, they can never get your information right, because that is for a reason. Even if I did multiple letters that I sent to these score agencies, and I certified those letters. I said that the information is true and there's nothing but the truth, saying that this is my information, this is where I work, and this is, like, I had one little mistake that I did in my credit, which was a late payment that I pay. I have no debt. Like, I have completely no debt at all. But there one time in my life, I didn't pay one thing, and then I had a late payment, and then I paid everything off. But it doesn't matter. For them, it does not matter. Your social score and how your score is, it depends on how the bank reports to these score agencies. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing as the Chinese social score system. It's the same thing. They're more sophisticated when it comes to reporting how your score is. Okay? Because they can monitor anybody at any time without any lawsuits or anything like that. And if you have different political ideologies or views, or if you're open-minded, then your score is very low, because they want you to believe in the CCP, the Communist Party political ideology. And it's the same shit here in America. Here in America is that they're fucking up this generation so that they can get the next generation. So every generation is gonna be just like this. They're gonna fuck up the new generation, and then fuck up the new generation, and keep doing that as much as they can, so they can do a data. They can analyze the data and see and control who is going to be the next on top of the food chain when it comes to your finances. Meaning that who is going to be financially, and socially as well as politically correct when it comes to how you believe and how you navigate through this pyramid of this pyramid scheme that these elitists have. And these social score agencies, they are completely keeping a lot of American people down. Like, a lot of people, especially the new generation now, the people who couldn't pay their student loans because the economy was purposely trashed. And now people cannot even make a freaking rent payment, let alone, $1,000, student loan debt they can even afford, and they have to refinance multiple times. So you see, it's not about how you choose things in life. It's about the opportunity you're given. And they understand that if they can give you an opportunity to make a mistake, they will do whatever it takes to tell you that, you made the wrong mistake, and then that you're at fault because it was your fault that you got that student loan debt. Okay? This is not like done by mistake because you made a mistake. This is done purposely because they control the economy, and they can control how you're going to navigate in life by keeping you in debt and suppressing your political ideology so that they can use you as a tool as well. It's like one hand washes the other when it comes to these people. If they can screw your life over now, they can use you to, destroy like a political ideology or whatever they're trying to implement in society. So hopefully you understand what I mean by this. And hopefully you're open-minded like I am.